My fiancé mocked my mother's death during dinner while I paid for the reception. So I ended the engagement publicly and took control of their lives. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and losing my mother 2 years ago shattered a part of me I've never fully recovered from. Grief isn't a clean wound, bleeds into every part of your life when you least expect it. Some mornings I'd wake up feeling like the world was colder, quieter, like something essential had been peeled away. And then Claire appeared bright, warm, laughing at things I'd forgotten were even funny. For the first time since my mother's funeral, I didn't feel like I was walking through life with a weight strapped to my chest. Claire had this confidence I admired, the kind that came from growing up in a wealthy, polished family that always seemed camaraderie. Her parents dressed like they were attending a photo shoot, even on casual Sundays. They intimidated me at first. My upbringing was simple, grounded, modest, but Claire always said I balanced her. I wanted to believe that was true. I wanted so badly to build something meaningful again, so I worked hard, 12-hour shifts. Overtime when it was available, saving every extra dollar, like the wedding, was my personal responsibility. Claire's family said they weren't in the best place financially, so covering most expenses fell on me, and I didn't complain not once. Providing felt like a way to honor the kind of man my mother raised me to be. But even early on, there were moments where Claire's smile dimmed when I mentioned my mother. She'd say things like, "Can we not get all emotional right now?" Or, "It's depressing to bring her up." I told myself she wasn't trying to be harsh maybe, she just didn't know how to handle grief. I ignored the sting each time, telling myself love required patience. And still, I genuinely believed the wedding would be my fresh start. A new chapter, a chance to breathe again. I had no idea the worst pain was still waiting for me. I grew up in a home where money was tight, but respect was never negotiable. Claire's family operated differently. They had this way of speaking that made you feel small without ever raising their voices, polished smiles. Expensive cologne in the air, dining tables that looked like something out of a catalog. The first few times I sat with them, I felt like an outsider auditioning for a part in their world. And slowly, I realized they saw me the same way. Claire's father would make comments like, "A man should always be ready to provide," followed by a quick glance at me. Her mother once laughed and said, "At least you're marrying up, sweetheart." I knew what she meant. They never tried to understand my background, my mother, my life. They just assumed I should be grateful to sit at their table. Claire didn't defend me, not once. She'd just roll her eyes and whisper, "Ignore them. They're old-fashioned," like that made it harmless. One evening, while we were choosing reception details, Claire casually slid the bill toward me and said, "You've got this, right? My parents aren't in the best place right now." I nodded, because what else was I supposed to say? I was already paying for most things, but now it felt expected, like I was the financial engine powering this entire wedding. When I hesitated for a second, she leaned in and whispered, "Don't make it weird. You know, you earn more than enough." That sentence sat in my chest like a stone. What cut deeper were the moments when I'd mentioned my mother, her favorite flower. Her smile, something she taught me. Claire would instantly shut down. "Can we not do this today?" She'd say, "It kills the vibe." Kills the vibe. My mother. Still, I convinced myself these were just rough edges, misunderstandings, stress from wedding planning. I wanted to believe love could smooth them out. But deep down, a small voice was beginning to whisper something I wasn't ready to hear. Claire invited me to what she called a simple pre-wedding dinner with her family. But the moment I walked into the restaurant, I knew I'd been set up for something else entirely. The place was upscale amber lighting, gold-accented menus, waiters in black ties gliding between tables like shadows. It was the kind of place where you didn't ask for prices because they weren't printed anywhere. Her family was already seated, smiling like they owned the room. And sitting across from them, I felt that old discomfort creeping up my spine. As soon as I took my seat, her father slapped the menu onto my side of the table and said, "Order anything." "We know you're paying anyway," he said it with a laugh. But it wasn't a joke. Claire giggled, touching his arm like it was the cutest thing in the world. I forced a smile and pretended it didn't bother me, even though my stomach tightened. The waiter poured water, and all I could think about was the bill quietly stacking up with every minute. The conversation drifted toward wedding. Expensive linen upgrades, centerpieces, champagne brands, and every time something expensive was mentioned, Claire's mother looked at me, almost measuring how far she could push. Then Claire's father leaned back in his chair and said, "Shame your mother won't see the ceremony. She probably would have cried at how much it costs." The table laughed softly. But then Claire added, "Honestly, it's probably better." She seemed like the emotional type. Weddings would have overwhelmed her. I felt everything inside me go still. The clinking silverware, the soft jazz music, the low chatter around Usit, all disappeared in an instant. I stared at her, waiting for her to laugh and say she was joking. She didn't. She took a sip of wine, smiling. Something broke quietly inside me. Without a word, I pushed my chair back. The screech echoed across the table. Claire's mother frowned. Claire said seriously, "You're leaving?" But I didn't answer. I couldn't. I walked out of that restaurant shaking, knowing something inside this relationship had shifted forever. I sat in my car for a long time after leaving the restaurant, hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles went white. The city noise outside felt distant, muffled, like I was underwater. All I could hear was Claire's voice repeating in my head, twisting the memory of my mother into something cruel and disposable. I kept asking myself if maybe I'd misunderstood, if maybe grief had made me oversensitive. But no. Those words were clear, sharp, intentional, and the way she smiled afterward, that haunted me the most. My phone buzzed beside me. First a text, then another, then a call. "Are you serious right now? You embarrassed me. Grow up and come back." Not a single message said, "I'm sorry." Not one. It was all about her pride, her image, her family's comfort. And with each vibration of the phone, something inside me shifted from hurt to clarity. She wasn't calling to check if I was okay. She was calling because I'd disrupted the script she expected me to follow. I finally picked up after the 10th call. "Why did you walk out like that?" she snapped. "You mocked my mother," I said quietly. "Do you understand what you did?" She exhaled loudly, like I was a burden. "It was a joke. Your emotional reactions are exhausting. You need to stop making everything about your mom." The words hit harder than anything from dinner. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. When I hung up, I just sat there, staring through the windshield at nothing. The restaurant lights blurred into streaks of gold, and my throat tightened with a grief I hadn't felt since the funeral. I believed the woman I loved had simply slipped up. But now I was seeing something I should have seen long ago. Then my phone buzzed again, but this time it wasn't Claire. It was the wedding venue, a confirmation for new charges Claire had added in my name, ones I hadn't approved, and just like that, the betrayal deepened. When I opened the message from the wedding venue, my heart dropped. It wasn't a reminder or a routine confirmation. It was an invoice, a massive one, line after line of luxury upgrades, premium linens, a champagne tower, a high-end lighting package, a last-minute menu redesign, all charged to my card. Charges I never approved. Charges Claire never even mentioned. For a moment, I just stared at the screen, feeling like the world was tilting under me. I called the venue immediately. "Hi, there must be a mistake," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. The coordinator replied, "Oh, Claire told us her fiancé wanted everything upgraded. She said you'd handle the payment." My breath caught. No, I didn't authorize any of this. There was a pause on the other end. She was very clear it was your decision. Hearing that made something cold settle in my chest. Asterisk, I drove to Claire's apartment because I needed to see her face when I asked. When she opened the door, she didn't look guilty. She looked annoyed. "Why are you here, acting dramatic?" she said, folding her arms. "You put thousands of dollars in charges under my name," I said. Without telling me, she rolled her eyes. "You make enough. Stop acting broke." That sentence hit me like a slap. Not because of the money, but because it sounded exactly like something her parents would say. "I didn't agree to any of this," I said. "So what?" She shrugged. "It's our wedding. Don't you want it to look good?" "I want honesty," I whispered. She scoffed. "God, you're sensitive. Is this about your mom again? Because this emotional spiral is exhausting." There it was again, her using my grief like it was an inconvenience she had to tolerate. I felt a slow burn rise in my chest, something sharper than sadness this time. After I left her apartment, I sat in my car and began taking screenshots, every text, every receipt, every charge. Something inside me whispered that I was going to need proof. And for the first time, I wasn't sure if this wedding was ever going to happen. but I had no idea just how deep the betrayal would go. You said, I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the past year, every little comment Claire made, every uneasy look her parents gave me, every time she shut down a conversation about my mother. By sunrise, my stomach was knotted so tightly it felt like a physical weight. I kept asking myself why she was acting like this, why everything felt transactional, but I didn't have an answer, not yet. Around 9 a.m., my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. You don't know me, but you need to hear this before it's too late. For a second, I thought it was spam. Then another message came through screenshots of group chats, pictures, Claire's name at the top, her family's names below it, and someone I barely remembered, her cousin, Emily, the quiet one, who always stayed on her phone during family gatherings. I messaged back, "Who is this?" Emily replied instantly, "Claire's cousin. Please don't tell anyone I sent this, but you need to know the truth." My pulse quickened as I opened the screenshots. Dozens of messages. Claire complaining about me, her mother calling me a safe bet, her father texting, "As long as he keeps paying. Let him think he's marrying into money." But the one that stopped my breathing was Claire's message. "He's emotionally fragile. Losing his mom made him desperate for attachment. He's easy to manage." I felt sick. Emily kept typing, "They're broke. Their business is failing. They're counting on you to help them survive. The wedding is part of it." Then another message. "Claire doesn't love you. She loves what you can do for them." I sat there, phone in shaking hands, feeling the last pieces of my denial crumble. Everything suddenly made sense. The upgrades, the pressure, the mocking comments, the way they treated me like an accessory instead of a human being. This wasn't just emotional manipulation anymore. It was calculated, and for the first time, I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt something colder, sharper, because now I knew the truth, and I wasn't going to let them get away with it. For the first time in weeks, my mind felt sharp, like someone had wiped fog off a window and finally let me see what was right in front of me. The betrayal stung, yes, but beneath the sting was something steadier. A quiet, growing resolve. If Claire and her family saw me as nothing more than a wallet, then it was time to stop funding their fantasy. And if they planned to use me, then I was going to end this on my terms, not theirs. The first thing I did was pull up my bank app and freeze the joint account. Claire pressured me into opening. My hands trembled slightly as I clicked disable. I moved my personal savings to a secure account and locked everything down with new passwords. For once, I felt like I was breathing fully. Next, I called the wedding venue. "Hi, I need to cancel all upgrades added after the initial agreement," I said. The coordinator hesitated. "Those were approved by your fiancée, not legally," I cut in. "My card, my authorization. Reverse every charge." She paused again, then finally said, "Understood. We'll process the reversals today." After that, I contacted Emily. "Can you send me everything?" I asked. Within minutes, she forwarded months of messages, screenshots, voice notes, even Claire mocking me for being clingy because of mommy issues. Reading those words hurt, but they fueled me. "Why are you helping me?" I asked. Her reply came fast, "Because they've done this before, just never on this scale." With every piece of evidence I collected, the knot in my chest loosened. I wasn't the desperate, blind fiancé they thought I was anymore. I was a man preparing for the moment they wouldn't see coming, and that moment was going to be public, because if Claire's family lived for appearances, then I was about to destroy the image they worked so hard to protect, and I knew exactly where it was going to happen. I thought I was prepared for anything after seeing those messages. I thought the worst part was already behind me. But that night proved me wrong. I had barely finished organizing the evidence, screenshots neatly saved, bank accounts secured, charges reversed when I heard furious pounding on my door. It was loud enough to rattle the frame. My stomach dropped before I even opened it. Claire stormed in without waiting for me to invite her. Her eyes were wild, her hair messy like she'd rushed over, and she slammed her purse onto my table so hard it fell over. "What the hell did you do?" she demanded. I stayed quiet. "You froze the account. You canceled the upgrades. Are you insane?" Her voice echoed through my apartment, sharp enough to sting. I tried to stay calm. "Claire, you lied. You used my money without permission." She stepped closer until I could feel her breath. "Do you realize how stupid you're being? My family is humiliated because of you. Your family," I said slowly, "Claire, you mocked my mother." She rolled her eyes so hard it made my blood run cold. "Are we still on that? Your mom has been dead for 2 years. You can't use her forever as an excuse to be emotionally unstable." That broke me. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I just felt something inside me collapse, like a beam finally snapping under too much weight. Every memory of my mother flashed in fragments, her laugh, her hands, her voice calling me my good boy. Hearing Claire twist that loss into a weapon, it was the cruelest thing anyone had ever done to me. After she stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to shake the walls, I slid down to the floor. I don't know how long I cried, minutes, hours. My chest ached so much it felt physical. I felt pathetic, used, alone. And for a brief moment, I genuinely wondered if I had ruined my own life by choosing the wrong person to love. But somewhere in the middle of that breakdown, something else rose inside me. Steady, unshakable dot. Tomorrow, I decided, would not be the day I broke. Tomorrow would be the day they broke. And it all started with the gathering Claire's parents were hosting. Claire's parents had planned a big pre-wedding gathering, something between a celebration and a show-off event. Their friends, business partners, distant relatives, everyone who mattered to them socially would be there. Normally, I hated these things. Tonight, though, I felt strangely calm, focused, almost cold. I wasn't walking into a party. I was walking into a battlefield with every weapon I needed. When I arrived, the house was glowing with warm lights and fake perfection. The air smelled like expensive candles and catered odd. People looked polished, glasses of champagne sparkling in their hands. Claire's parents spotted me almost instantly. Her father approached with a forced smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Good," he said. "You're here. We need to talk." I nodded. "We will." In front of everyone, he stiffened, confused. But before he could respond, Claire appeared beside him, her makeup flawless, her smile wide, her voice sweet as poison. "You're not still being dramatic, are you?" she whispered. Instead of answering, I stepped forward, raised my voice just enough for the room to quiet. "Actually, I have something important to say." The crowd turned toward me. I could feel dozens of eyes lock onto us. "Perfect. I've decided to end the engagement," I said clearly. A ripple went through the room, gasps, whispers, shifting footsteps. Claire's face fell like someone had yanked the ground out from under her. "What are you doing?" she hissed. I pulled out my phone, explaining why. One by one, I read out loud Claire's messages mocking my mother, her parents' chats calling me a walking wallet, their plan to merge their failing business with my finances after the wedding, her messages calling me emotionally fragile and easy to manipulate. People stared at them in disgust. A few stepped back, as if Claire's family were contagious. Claire tried grabbing my arm. "Stop. This is private." I pulled away. "You lost the right to privacy when you decided to exploit me." Her father shouted something, but his voice cracked. Her mother's face was drained of color. I ended with, "You mocked the woman who raised me. You tried to use my grief. This isn't a partnership. It's a trap. And I'm done." Then I walked toward the door. No rush, no panic. Just silence behind me, the kind that meant their perfect world was finally cracking. And I knew the fallout was only beginning. I expected backlash, anger, maybe even threats. But what I didn't expect was silence, the kind that hangs after a bomb goes off and everyone is too stunned to move. As I walked out of the house that night, I didn't look back once. The air felt lighter than it had in months. I didn't celebrate. I didn't smile. I just breathed deeply for the first time. Breathing didn't hurt. The real fallout began the next morning. My phone buzzed nonstop texts, missed calls, voicemails. First from Claire, then her parents, then unknown numbers. I didn't open a single one. But I didn't have to, because word spreads fast in circles where reputations are currency. By noon, screenshots of the messages I revealed had made their way through her family's entire social network. Around 3 p.m., Emily, the cousin, who warned me, sent a message, "You should see the group chats right now. They're falling apart." I didn't reply, but she kept updating me. Their business partners were furious, suddenly refusing to attend future meetings. A few pulled out of pending deals, citing ethical concerns. Claire's father tried blaming me, but the receipts were too damning. Their mockery, their manipulation, their plan to use my money as a bailout, it all spread like wildfire. By evening, Claire finally managed to reach me through a different number. "Please," she said through the voicemail, her voice cracking. "You humiliated us. Just talk to me." I deleted it. Then came a message from her mother, cold, stiff, formal. "We expect your public apology for your behavior tonight." An hour later, another message. "Our attorney will be in touch. You slandered our family." But they had nothing. No contracts, no claims, no legal footing. Everything I revealed was their own words, in their own messages. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, lights off, listening to the quiet. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was drowning. I felt like I had finally come up for air. But the story wasn't over, because walking away was only the beginning of the justice they were about to face. In the days that followed, something inside me finally settled. Not joy, not triumph, just a deep, steady quiet, like a storm had finally passed, leaving the air washed clean. I didn't respond to Claire, her parents, or their empty threats. I didn't need to. Their world was collapsing under the weight of their own actions, and all I had to do was step aside and let gravity finish the work. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was bracing for impact. I felt still. I focused on myself. I scheduled therapy, something I'd been putting off since my mom passed. Sitting in that room, talking openly about the guilt, the loneliness, the manipulation I'd endured. It felt like lowering a load I didn't realize I'd been carrying. My therapist asked, "When was the last time someone prioritized your feelings?" I didn't have an answer. I began visiting the places my mother loved, our old park, the bakery she adored, the small bench near the lake where she used to read. The world felt softer there. I'd sit quietly, letting memories drift through me instead of breaking me. For the first time, remembering her felt like warmth instead of pain. Meanwhile, Emily kept me updated, not because I asked, but because she genuinely cared. "They're still trying to spin it," she texted. Another message. "Their business partners are backing out left and right." Then your name keeps coming up, but not the way they expected. "People think you handled everything with dignity." I didn't respond right away. I just read her messages and let the knowledge settle. After months of being told I was overreacting, too sensitive, too emotional, hearing that people believed me felt like a small, unexpected validation. One afternoon, Emily wrote, "They keep saying they didn't realize how badly they hurt you. They're falling apart." I stared at the message for a long moment, and all I felt was peace. They destroyed themselves, and walking away, silent and unapologetic, was the most powerful revenge I ever could have taken. That was still waiting for me. A year passed quietly, steadily, without chaos or drama, the kind of year I didn't realize I'd been craving. I rebuilt myself piece by piece, not rushing anything, not forcing healing to happen on a timeline. Some days were heavy, especially on holidays or on random mornings when I'd reach for my phone wishing I could text my mom. But other days felt lighter, like sunlight finally breaking through a cloudy sky. And for the first time since losing her, the light stayed. I got promoted at work. I started cooking again, using my mom's old handwritten recipes, the ones she taped inside a faded notebook she'd had since college. I met new people, slowly let friendships form, and eventually, I let myself love again. Not recklessly this time. Not desperately, but gently. The woman I'm with now understands the quiet parts of me. She listens. She notices. She never makes me feel like my grief is an inconvenience, and that alone feels like a blessing. Every now and then, Emily sends me quick updates, not gossip, just truth. Claire moved away, she wrote once. Her parents' business finally closed. They still blame each other. I'd read the messages without anger or satisfaction, just distance. Their downfall wasn't my victory, it was simply the natural end of choices they made long before. I entered their lives one morning on my mom's birthday. I visited her grave. The cemetery was cool and quiet, dew still on the grass. I placed her favorite white lilies down and sat beside the headstone, breathing in the stillness. I think I finally did right by myself, I whispered. "I think you'd be proud." The breeze moved through the trees, soft and steady, and for the first time, I didn't cry out of pain. I cried because it felt like she was there, gently reminding me I deserved a life that didn't hurt. Leaving Claire wasn't the victory. Reclaiming myself was, and in the end, everything I lost led me back to everything I needed to become.